Hello everyone, my name is Kinya Pollard. Around these parts I'm known as the Harpsmith. I just completed filming an episode for David Barrett's bluesharmonica.com that I think you're going to like. We're going to post it here on YouTube. If you do enjoy watching our particular brand of teaching style and the content, come join us on bluesharmonica.com. Let's begin with a tour of my little bench of horrors. As you can see, there's many different gizmos here, and you're probably thinking this can't possibly be everything I'm going to need to do reed work, and you're right about that. So what we're going to do is we're going to discuss each and every one of these tools and how that may or may not be to your liking. Many of the tools are still available for purchase. Others I had cobbled together over years and years of experimentation and thousands of reeds later. So let me clear this off, and so let's get on with our study. My memory's telling me one of the first tools that I started using on the Harpsmith bench was this small, they call it a machinist anvil, still available, because it's very, very solid, very straight, and it turned out that the hole that they machined on the top was perfect for our reed work. What I mean by perfect is that closer examination of the top of the rivet will fit right through that hole. This is what it looks like on the backside. So the goal then is to press on this flat side of the reed and have it pop out right through this anvil. Okay, let's give it a try. And hammer-wise, you don't need a monster hammer. This one I found just using like a 4-inch. As the rule of thumb goes, if you're going to be hammering steel, use a steel hammer. If you're going to be hammering brass, then you're going to be using brass. If you're going to be hammering Teflon, etc., etc. Okay, so for our purposes today, we're going to just use the steel on steel, 4-ounce. So number one, I might as well start on number one reed, right? I'm going to index this and just slip and slide to, there it goes. See? And just wiggle and jiggle. Make sure everything is flat, okay? Oh, so the assumption was this reed was faulty, okay? Either it was faulty or maybe it's a good one that I'm going to use as a donor, and then I'm going to put on to another one. But for the sake of this Harpsmith bench study, I'm going to remove and turn around and replace these 4, starting from number 1. Okay, that makes sense? Okay, re-index that one. This requires a little gymnastics because I'm applying downward pressure with my index finger. And then I want to get my center punch. Almost anything would work. Sharp as possible is what I would recommend. And aim at dead center as best as you can. Again, like we spoke about before, lay it down on the middle and then tilt up the tool. Oh, see how that moved? Focus, focus. And then without hitting your finger, you're going to give it a tap. Okay? Like that. And you can see it disappeared. And voila! Look how easy that one was. Okay? So this is the reed that we'll call donor reed that we're actually going to reinstall during that segment of our study, okay? All right, so number one, everything aside here. Number one is a typical miniature machinist vise, and it has a 1/4 on there. Actually, that's larger than a 1/4. And then in that way, if you want this to be a permanent fixture on your bench somewhere, you know, you can bolt it and it ain't moving. Oh, here's the rivet. Now, some people, like when the late great Bill Romell advised me in the beginning, his deal was to repurpose the old rivets, and you can do that. But I have another strategy that I would like to show you. I think it's easier. And so what do I do with these? Throw them away. Have a whole floor full of these. Okay, let's put that one away. And speaking of Bill Romell, he was really big into acrylic. For any of you, I think Monk, remember Monk out there? How are you? That was one of David's students early on. He was a neighbor and a friend of Bill, and showed me one of the custom chromatics that Bill actually manufactured him. Stunning. I'm sorry he's not with us anymore. But I have a couple of these tools, and they're very, very basic. You got the stand, you got the cutaways for the reed plates. One end has the hole, which is very similar to what I had here, see? So we'll call that the die part. And this part actually pops off, and then you can replace it with different ones. If you ever lose it, don't do that. And everything is, of course, machined very, very straight. So this was my second tool. So we're going to go over to hole number 2. Same principle. And what's cool is that it fits right inside here. I like that. So it's not flopping around so much. Boom. Okay. And here I like to use the same 4-ounce ball peen hammer, they call it. Steel on steel. 2. Boom. I'm glad. Okay, good. I'm glad I did this. You see how it's still attached? See that right there? Let me get a little bit closer to the camera. Where are you, camera lens? Okay, there we go. Okay, so what's cool about this is that you're just going to reach in there with your nippers, and I have a variety of different sizes, as you know, but let's go ahead and I'll reach for the one that I use for cutting the actual bolts, my rivet replacement, okay? So what you're gonna do here is you're gonna reach in there, and it just pops right out, see? Okay? So if you don't want to hammer anymore, it's totally safe to just go ahead and pull it off. In fact, for those of you who want to repurpose the reeds, it's already attached on there. So how cool is that? Okay? And so that is method number 2. The Bill Romell acrylic reed removal and peening tool. See, this side right over here is flat, okay? It's flat because if you do want to repurpose the rivet, you can tighten it up a little bit by smashing it, because that's the whole purpose of a rivet, by the way, is it mushrooms. When you hit the head of a rivet, any rivet, it will expand inside out, okay? Kind of like a mushroom. So we're gonna get this to the latter part. In fact, I'll use this to show you how to lay in a brand new rivet, okay? Number 2. All right, number three. Oh, number three is actually a cool one because this came with a very old, I think I even had the packaging here. It's a very old set. Remember? Herring, which was, if I remember the history properly, in Brazil, it had its connections with Hohner. And it was spun off, but it was a cool little kit that they have with some extra reeds, the appropriate screwdriver. We have the file to tune, scraper right over here, reed lifter here, and then here it is. Okay. And then this is where the punch was, and it looks like about a 0.05 feeler gauge reed tool. It's a reed tool for adjusting. And oh, there it is. I had made this years ago out of just a miniature open-end wrench. So I made my own herring reed wrench, because I used to do quite a few repairs on herring. Not a bad instrument. Had one of the closest tolerance between reed to reed plate. But unfortunate, I think they had to shut down. And of course the screwdriver, okay? So in this kit was this really cool flat stock with slide. In fact, I'm laughing at myself because I didn't know what the heck this thing was. Do you hit people in the audience with it when they're angry with your music? I don't know. I didn't figure it out at the time, but of course, I'm sure you're laughing too because it's obvious to you, right? This is exactly the size of a clearance size. Here, let me turn on the side. See? That the reed head, look at that. Okay, fits into. Okay, and so let me demonstrate. Okay. Make it in the camera range there. Okay. So I'm going to take the original herring, line it up to the middle. It's probably the hardest part is getting it dead center. Okay. Get my ball peen hammer. Okay, and made easy work of that. Voila. Isn't that cool? Okay. Where's the rivet? And there's the rivet, which I am going to fling across the shop here. Just, you know, hey, it's not all about the music, right? I got to have some fun here. Okay, and so this is going to be my donor reed, so I'm going to put that carefully over to the side. And let's see what else. Okay, so that was number 3. Some sort of a hard surface that with an opening that you can fit the head of the rivet through there and lay the rest of the reed plate flat. That's going to work as well, okay? So that's number 3. Okay, and of course, you've seen this on prior episodes of the Harpsmith bench. There really is nothing better than Richard Slay's reed peening and riveting tool. Absolutely extraordinary. And if you can track down any one of these, man, you got something. Oh, while I got this view, check this out. So reeds come in a variety of different lengths and widths, right? So they're all carefully identified up over here so that when we go to the reed installation part, This is something that was actually recommended by our late friend John Harrell. Thank you, John. Okay, and so now what this does is it holds your reeds solid. It is solid in place, and then we can increase the clearance holes in case you're going to be doing nuts and bolts, and just general cleanup of the rivet pad. Pretty darn cool. Okay, so we're only going to need this one. Oh, I kept this one in the middle just to show you how the tolerance of this thing. Look how this thing travels down, watch. That is so cool, I'll do it again. I entertain easily. Okay, so this will be our fourth method. So we're going to put reed number 4 right here. Will that fit this way? Let me see. Yep. No, almost, huh? I'm gonna have to ask Richard about that. He's gonna probably tell me to stop my whining because at least I got one. Okay, so same. Once you get it indexed and lined up, the good news is you don't have to eyeball it. It's absolutely perfect. Now, I don't know if any of you caught that, but the moment I hit it, there's a slide, a chamber inside, and it spits out the spent rivets so that your tool will never get packed up with them. You see the thing, let me grab the Bill Rommel tool. You have to clean out the, sometimes this little thing gets clogged up with a couple of rivets. Always thinking this, Richard. Okay, so clearly this is my favorite tool. It's got some heft to it. You can also bolt this one down on your bench. Okay, those are the 4 methods of removing reeds. Number 1, machine anvil. Number 2 was the Bill Rommel acrylic reed removal and repining tool. That's P-E-E-N-I-N-G, I believe he used to refer to it. And of course, any chunk of metal flat stock that has a groove cut into it to allow the head of the rivet to pass through. And my beloved, okay, I'll tell you what, guys, when I die, this is going to be willed to the lucky person who writes the best essay to me, okay? All right. That better not mean there's going to be a hit on me. Jeez. Okay, so 4 different methods, all using the 4-ounce ball peen hammer, okay? Next step, how do we put the reed onto the reed plate? Probably about 20 years ago, I developed this reed replacement strategy utilizing this little aught 80, and that's written out as 0-80 fastener, and it's only 1/8 of an inch long. And probably most of the reed work I do is with this particular fastener. So I thought it appropriate that I show you how is it I can replace a reed utilizing this little fastener here, okay? And the jig that you see below me here wasn't made for this purpose. I got it from Micromark, and again, I'll list that for you on the PDF. And it was originally a press, you know, with the handle about here. In fact, here, put that down. See? it's a press and a worm gear, and so that when you wanted to do light assembly, this jig worked out really well. Well, it worked out better for me to utilize as a little tiny hand-operated drill press. So watch how I do this. It's important when you're doing a drill and tap. Tap are the threads that little 80 fastener is going to screw into and secure the reed, okay? So I found that you have to step it down. You have to make the opening just enough where that the tap, the other bit that I'll show you in a moment, will have some purchase. But you don't want the hole to be so big that the tap slides out and then you have no material to cut your threads into. Okay, we're working with this reed plate, number 1. So I'm going to I like to dip my cutting tools in oil. Mineral oil works really well for harmonica work here. Very inexpensive. You can get it anywhere, any drugstore. Okay, so now what I'm doing is lining it up over, and I'll tilt it so you can, actually this is a horrible angle, isn't it? Let's see. There is a handle on top of this spindle, as you saw, that I'm going to turn clockwise and start cutting a hole. You can see the snivelies already pulling up underneath there. And I'm not applying much pressure, just a little bit at a time. And don't worry, I'll get you a close-up here in just a moment. Okay, there it goes. I can feel it. You can always feel it because it's the tension on that is very different than when you first start. Oh, there it goes. Did you see that all? Okay, let me bring that up close. See the shavings? Okay. That's all you need. And then I'm going to lift. It's always amazing to me how much shavings come off of this little, it's what the aught means, the zero means is the diameter of the shaft of this new fastener I'm putting on, this little machine screw, and the 80 means how many threads per inch. Okay, so I'm really done with this thing. I like to keep this clamp on here because I don't want to damage my my little miniature bits. And again, Micromark stocks these, so that's why I used to stress out and because I'd break these all the time. And but they're relatively inexpensive. Okay, all right, so that work is done there, so I'm going to put that tool aside. Okay, so the next one, we're going to be bringing in the big guns, and let me pull the view of this camera to remind you what it looked like when we looked at it earlier. Okay, it's a big sucker. All right, but man, does it work good. Because when you're doing as many reeds as it was kind of a pain in the aspadula to have to chuck up so many different devices. Ooh, in fact, that's a good angle that you all can see. Okay, I'll keep it there. Okay, so this little tap over here has threads, and it is so sharp, it will cut those miniature threads into that hole we just made. Very, very cool stuff. I still have some mineral oil pulled up in there, so I won't have to drench my cutting tool. Release the alligator clip and position it. Can you all see that? Position that over there, and I'm going to start. And this is the one you want to be careful, okay? If it's binding, my goodness, pull it up like this. Pull it up and reset, okay? And do it again. Okay, it's kind of like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I just made that up. It isn't really like that. But I like to clear the shavings so I don't muck up my tool. Okay, look at that. See how easy that twist in there? Okay, let me see if I can get you a better view. See, isn't that lovely? Okay. And don't be in a rush to pull out the tap, because you don't want to strip all these beautiful threads you just cut in there, right? Ah, there it goes. Lovely, lovely. Let's get a close-up at that. I'm going to clip there. Okay. All right, just dabble a little bit of that. Okay, can you see the threads in there? Isn't that fantastic? I think it is. One of the reasons I selected the 80 screw size, because there are smaller, like Richard Slay popularized the 90, which is 1 step lower, flat-headed, which I'll demonstrate. But man, it was rough handling a screw that small. It's like as small as the screw on your reading glasses there. Okay? Now, savvy Harpsmiths will notice that when I shift the light, you can see there's a burr. There's a burr right there. Yeah, can you see the hump on all 4 of them that I removed? That is no bueno, as we say in Japanese, okay? Because your reed will not sit flat properly, and you're going to get some leaks, and then you're going to be very disappointed with your reed replacement surgery, okay? So what I did initially was to get a flat punt, perfectly straight. And it works best on a super flat surface so you don't lose any of the energy. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna just line up right over the top here, and I'm letting, kind of like a jackhammer, I'm floating the light thumps over from front to back, like that. See? So now, yeah, see, I can feel it. There's no more divot. It's absolutely smooth. Pretty cool. I won't do these yet because the act of drilling and tapping actually creates the metal to flip up like that. So I'm just going to wait on that. But so for technique number one, on reed number one, go ahead and use the head of a punch, lightly tap it down. So this is absolutely perfect, okay? All right, the next step, I'm going to actually grab the 0-80 by 1/8 inch fastener. And it's really cool how I hold this darn thing. Again, like I mentioned, although I have pretty good dexterity, not as good as when I was younger, but it's a pain to handle these small screws. I end up dropping more than I can feed into the reed. Okay, so let me get that set up, okay? Before returning to the reed plate, a necessary step would be to increase, it's called a clearance. The clearance hole left behind by the rivet, it's not quite big enough so that your 0-80 fastener can't move easily through there for final reed adjustment inside the slot. So let me show you a couple of ways that you can do that. This is known as a pin vise. This also is a pin knife. You'll notice, excuse me, pin vise. You'll also notice that I have it chucked up. A good chance to show you what the 0-80 tap looks like. I did that to show those of you who don't want to invest in the big guns. You can always use hand tools, very inexpensive, to hold your bits, okay? So you'll see me transitioning back and forth just to kind of give you all some options out there. Never want to be painted into a corner. The reason why I like this particular pin vise is it has a ball that I can lodge against the inside of my palm and then just simply turn. It's very cool, very comfortable, very secure. So you have a typical chuck that I'm going to, you can see how darn small these things are, okay? And then to lock it down like that. So the chuck is moving towards my face, whereas the shaft of the pin vise is moving away in that direction. So you're going in opposite directions. Okay, so it turns out this size here measures 1/16 of an inch. And for those of you abroad who think in terms of numbered bits, it would be, I'll show you. Come on, get into view. Number 52. You can see I even wrote that here. 0-80, 52 clearance, okay? But almost everywhere here in the States, you can get 1/16, okay? So that 1/16 turns out it works pretty darn good as being a little bit larger than the diameter, again, that's 0, number 0, of the fastener itself, okay? So these suckers are hard to hold. And earlier I showed you the John Harrell idea. Let me grab it again. On how you can nest your reed right in the slot. Boom. And then you can build your clearance, make your clearance hole inside the rivet in of the reed really easily. But for those of you who don't have this, This is what I did for years and years and years and years. Just get a block of wood, block of hardwood, works really well. And you hold it down like that, see? Just hold it into position. Then you get your bit, line it up, and just give it a couple of turns. I mean, because remember guys, this is soft brass. And then my cutting tool is machined steel. Okay, do you see the, if you look carefully, I can see the wood shavings starting to come, and I don't care because it's just scrap block, but that means you already went through. Okay, so then you pull it out. See the little hole left behind? Okay, and what's neat about this idea is that because you have a backing block like this, you don't have any sheet metal, I call it sheet metal blowout on the other end. This is relatively smooth, see that? Okay. A little bit is good. I like a little bit, and I'll tell you why, is because when we do the setup and we start tightening up our fastener to lock down this rivet pad, sometimes it'll go and start moving with every turn of the screwdriver. It drives me nuts. Okay, so sometimes I like a little bit of the shavings because the shaving is so soft, it just presses into the reed plate and really doesn't cause any problems at all. Okay, let me show you this super cool tool. I first started using this when I was in the trades. I still carry that in my electrician's tool pouch, but this is called a screw launcher. And I always chuckle when I say that because I think that's funny. It's like, am I gonna be throwing those? What the hell, right? I throw those spent rivets around. Why not launch screws across the room? Okay, now it has this slide tube. There are actually two shafts. And as let me pull the view a little bit farther out. And so as I push this one in, watch what happens to the end. That might be a little bit difficult to see. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually grab this little bad boy here and demonstrate, okay? I'm going to see that. So I'm going to initially feed it into the slot, and that's why I like the slotted screw heads and not the hexagon or the Phillips because of this gizmo. And that's the only reason why. And I realize I can magnetize the tips of my screw, blah blah blah. I know that, but how cool is this? This ain't going nowhere. Okay, then as my buddy Brendan Power says, capillary action, which he means spit, I'm going to put a dab of spit and touch the washer here. Now the reason why I adopted the, can you just use this 80 fastener? Because it is a rather large dome head, round head they call it, and not use the washer? Yeah, sure, go ahead. But I think for all of you mechanics out there, you know the advantage of a washer. The advantage of a washer is that you can torque down your fastener, it apply even downward pressure, and mitigate the chance for your work to spin on its axis. So I just make it a habit to always slip on a little dinky 80 brass washer, okay? And again, similar materials. I like to use brass whenever possible, and the brass reeds. Like when I work on sidle, I'll use stainless steel screws, okay? So I'm gonna check before I put everything together. Let me just do a quick inspection. Ooh, nice, nice. So that's going in there just like that the factory did it, okay? So now we're gonna grab the #1 reed. We're gonna feed it into here. Oh, see how it's like not really going in? I'm fighting it, right? Okay, so no problem, no problem. Just go ahead and get the 1/16 clearance again. And again, it's just a little bit, So I'm gonna tilt it up at a little bit of an angle, little bit of a downward angle. So I'm making the hole little, I mean, it's so minute you can't even see. Maybe it's a little oblong, but not really. Okay. Oh, one other very, very important thing. I'm glad I thought of it. Why didn't anybody remind me of this? You guys, I'm telling you, I thought we were friends. Come on, next time you tell me. But there's two sides of the reeds, right? So there's the machine side, that'll be up, and then there's the flat side, okay? So the flat side always goes against the reed plate. Did I lose my little washer? No, I didn't. See, that's how good it fits. It like disappeared. Okay. So I'm gonna put that one on there. It's still a little tight. I didn't really want to have to be able to, it's not binding or anything, but I like a little wiggle jiggle room for my final fitting. But hey, maybe it's gonna land perfect. Okay, and then let gravity do its work, because if this, you can see it just hangs like the dials of a clock face, right? Okay, pick the right side, because even though you drilled and tapped from the top side, you can inadvertently put it on the bottom, all right? So be aware of that. How funny would that be? Hey, Harpsmith, how come my harmonica doesn't work? Okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm launching. These are not designed to torque the screwdriver into its final destination, its final landing spot, okay? All it is it launches. So just go ahead and grab your Weehaw straight blade. That's this one over here. Okay, that's a good size right there. It's 260. Okay. And then you're going to put that right here. So these are designed, I mean, I could torque the steering wheel off a Mercedes with this little bad boy. Okay. And it is so satisfying to really be able to torque down on this thing. Let me get my glasses in position here. Okay, don't over tighten at this juncture, because you need to pull out the light box, right? Remember, let me get you a white surface so that you can see. Yeah, you can see it's leaning over to the right, and if I plink this, you're probably not going to get it to ring at all. In fact, I can see it's, see? You hear that? Okay, so it's touching right over there. So I'm going to grab a, we saw this in the last time when we were covering toolkits. So this is actually a plinking tool, and it's a reed wrench. Okay, can you hear that? Okay, I'm using my fingernail underneath to just simply do this. I'm stabbing up, grabbing the reed with the tool, releasing. See that? and this is super important, okay? Even without my light box, but just using my ears, I'm listening for a very satisfying plink. And what does that mean, guys? That means nothing's touching. The reed, whether it be a donor reed from another harmonica that you knew as well, or a brand new reed that you purchased from Honer Parts, okay? This is going to be fine. So one final step is to grab the rail cutter. Electricians call this a side cutter, but look how it's machined completely flat. So this side cutter, I can lay, watch. Whoa, look at that. See, what's that doing there? Okay, that's not cool, because if you had let's say a wooden comb, or even a composite comb that requires it be totally flat, you're going to have it hit the comb and not index properly. Whereas on the Special 20, it actually clears. Let me see, is that true? Kinya, don't exaggerate. Okay, so this is the blow side. Oh, yeah, so that's what's cool, because the one I was working on, of course. Again, you guys, why didn't you alert me and let me know I was on target? But on the top blow reed plate, it doesn't matter. There's nothing, you can keep that there. I just think it looks, dare I say vile? Wrong word. I think it looks lousy, okay? So that's why we have this cool tool. And then again, it's another one I got from Micromark, and it works so well because it is so bloody sharp. So I line up flat up against the reed plate, and you probably heard it. It jumped across the studio here and hit somebody in the head. Okay, voila. So that is factory. The next strategy will be to repurpose the old rivet, seeing how when I popped out the other one, it remained on the reed. So I wanted to show you some pictures. Look at this close up over here. So you have this press, which is activated by kind of a cantilevered device underneath the tabletop. So they actually control this by just the press of a foot, and then they can measure the amount of speed they want to flatten. Let me see, it almost looks like crushing. I saw this, by the way, when I spent time with a Gunter buyer who worked at Honer for 39.5 years, and he actually has a full-on shop at his home. But I was afforded an opportunity to tour Trossingen, and again, same thing. This is what you see. You see them applying pressure on top of a rivet, smashing it and holding it onto the reed plate. Let's see what else is on. Oh, this is a nice picture of my friend there. Could you imagine being stuck in that room 8 hours a day, if not more? No wonder they serve up beer in the vending machines in the break room. I thought that was fantastic. Okay, so what they do is not only attach the rivet and the reed, obviously she's working on a chromatic, but she's doing it over a light source. Okay, and the advantage of that is that as she's installing the reeds into place, yeah, see that black part? That's the part you saw on the opposite page, spring-loaded. See that right there? And so the advantage of that is that she can dead center the movement of the reed inside the slot. That doesn't always happen, but that's the goal. And here she's trimming it up with a file. See that right there? And then over here, there's another view. That's a kind of a miniature white strip that's illuminated in the background over there. Okay, let's see what we have on the other page. Okay, I don't want to show you everything, but it was important for you to see that because that is our next step. How is it we can install new rivets and repurpose old ones? All right, all right. I can hear you even through the camera there. It's like, hey, show me more, Harpsmith. Show me more. Well, you can see it at Eat Workbench. How would you like this? Just a lifetime supply of reeds. Isn't that something? Okay. And she does enjoy her work. I made sure of that. Okay, so you position the reed into place. And this machine over here is very, very cool. It's actually a slot. It's like a slide. And rolling down this, not rolling down, but sliding down this track are these rivets, okay? And this is an absolute fabulous picture of the fresh rivets getting ready to be pressed into place, okay? You know, I should reserve camera time just to go through this entire book. It is absolutely fantastic. One of the curators at the Trossingen Harmonica factory, wonderful fellow. I met Martin Hofner. I never met Mr. Winslow, but they put together this fabulous book. And if you can get one, you'll have a hard time putting it down for you harp techs. As you saw just moments ago, when I punched out the reed, it sort of blew out a little bit of the metal. See how it caused a little hump, like a divot. All right. And so that's going to make it problematic for the rivet to fall into. So what I like to do is place the tool on the opposite side. Remember, we were here, okay? We were on this side first. So now I'm going to flip it over. Let me get a better view over here. Okay, like that. And I'm just going to tap it. Almost like we're countersinking it, yeah? Okay. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Let's see if I like that. Well, that's not too horrible, but I'm going to do a little bit more. Actually, what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to persuade it by twisting it a little bit. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing the metal back in. How's that look to you guys? Okay, I think that looks pretty darn good. So I'm going to get the number 2 reed, which we punched out earlier. And this is the one where I wasn't aggressive enough, so it's like a hanger-on, but that's cool because that's how I used to do them. And you see a little piece of the rivet hanging on. Okay, so let's line it up inside there. Okay, so guess what? Now we're going to flip this thing around, and we got the flat. We got the flat punch, okay? Like that. Center it up. And can you all see that? That's the view right there from the side. I'm gonna have to keep it absolutely flat, ladies and gentlemen, to make sure that I got this. Okay. Okay, I'm going to tap it just to make sure it nests back inside the hole. And then once it does, I give it a couple of strikes. Let's take a look at it. See? Look familiar? So let's see if we got a plink out of this, huh? Do you hear that? Okay, so for many of you, you may be fond of repurposing the rivet. It will never be as tight as it was from the factory. Repurposing, that is. So let's go to the next technique. Okay, I'm going to punch the reed back out. Okay. Seemed kind of ashamed, but that was absolutely perfect. Yeah. Okay. I got to tell you, and the reason why I don't do rivets is because it's kind of a hit and miss for me. And with fasteners, it's always right. And working on so many customers, you begin to see if they bring it back, there's kind of a pattern, right? For example, they'll blow out the 5 draw, and they'll blow out the 4 blow and the 4 draw, like that, okay? And so it's really cool to have screws because they come back and wham, bam, thank you, it's done. Okay, so take a look at this thing. This is a stick of rivets. Let me see how close I can get that. Back that up against that image right there. Let me see. Isn't that cool? So it's attached by the bullet end. And earlier I mentioned to you, I saw them load these up, kind of like a nail gun. And they just go through hundreds of thousands of these darn things. So from their point of view, yeah, this is fast. And from a lot of the Asian harmonica, they're using spot welding. It's a method pioneered by the Suzuki factory. But I see that now with Conchang. I see that with East Top. Okay, so everybody's looking for a quicker way to reduce labor hours. Okay, so now I'm just going to snap this one off. Oh, that's not so darn easy. Hold on there, Harpsmith. I need some tools. Okay. There, see that? Okay. I'm laughing at myself because one time I had Richard Slay in my shop and says, "Hey, you got any rivets?" Sure, I had so many because I don't use them. Oh boy. Okay. So the bullet end is inserted on the backside, right? You saw that in the picture. Okay, see how that fits in there, like perfect, like somebody designed it that way. Okay, and you don't have to put a clearance hole when you're doing the rivet technique, okay? So, so for example, if you bought reeds from Honer Parts, or you removed them like we did as donors, you should be all right. Let's try this. So I drop that into the slot, line it up, and it's very, very sharp. So it's like giving myself acupuncture. Ah, good view, good view. Look at that, look at that, look at that. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the flat side of the tool again. Okay, you can't see this part, but there's nothing to index. There's nothing to index me dead center. So I was going to machine some waffle, you know, much like the images you saw where the tip of their tool was actually, reminds me of my framing hammer, where it doesn't slip. So the fastener, the nail doesn't slip, okay? I'm thinking what I'm gonna do is just machine a index hole right in the middle, just to line it up. But for you all, I'm doing it by eye, and well, that looks pretty darn ugly. Yeah, see how I mangled it? Was that because it slipped? Did I put too many pounds per square inch? I don't know, but it looks terrible. So let's go ahead and watch me do it again. Okay. Oh gosh. Look at that, look at that. It's not funny, but it's starting to look pretty darn mangled. So I'm reminded why I'm not a big fan of using new rivets and why I had a drawer full of them. So it's like anything else, okay? It's a skill. It's a skill that requires many, many hours of perfection. My advice would be to adopt to a fastener idea, because it is way faster. Moving along to technique number 3, and again, we did that sequential. 1, 2, third read, we're gonna work right over here, and we're gonna close out the studies on number 4 slot. So M standing for metric, okay? And number 1, shaft size. Other people will just simply refer to as the cellular phone screw, because it's really small. But it's a good strategy, and I've been doing more and more and more of it. Richard Slay actually turned me on to it and gave me the proper tap size and the proper pilot hole size. And these screws, let me show you. Okay, I magnetized, as you can see, my tweezers, but look how dinky those are. Okay, so that's going to be the fastener that we selected here for read number 3. And let's, oh, you know what we need to do? We need to magnetize, because these are so small. So if you don't have a magnetizer, Weehaw makes a very good one. This is their 410. And if you stick your metal device, your steel, you'll feel the magnetic polarities in here. Okay, just run it around here a little bit. And this is going to magnetize your tool. And then when you're finished with that and you don't want it magnetized, then you just put it on the right side over here and that will demagnetize it, okay? Very cool, very simple. Okay, and you can see it works quite well. Right away, I'm able to pick up this M1.4 screw pretty easily on here, pretty easily, okay? So let's take a look at the reed. We remove the rivet. See how it passes through. I'm going to size it up. Whoa, it doesn't fit. Look at that. Okay. So I wanted to introduce another tool. This one is very popular with Joe Spire. He's a certified Honer customizer. And that is to use a reaming tool. And reaming tools are typically sold as a set. Here's mine. Okay, and it's a very, very simple tool, starting from the very small up to a larger one, where you insert this into your reed and just start turning, pushing in, turning, pushing in. And what it does is it cuts away at the metal, and even though this is square, it provides a larger hole. Let's take a look. The only thing I don't like about this, I can't use my block idea. Make sure, okay, make sure I got the right reed. And then you insert and just twist. Let me get a line here. Okay, I can see I'm starting too small. Excuse me, this one is too large, so I'm going to go to the reamer next one down. I can see by the markings here that this is probably one I used for the 80 before I decided just to get the right size bit. And can you do that for this one? Yeah, of course. Of course you can. I just did not. Okay, so that slips in there, and it's tapered, so you can see as you move farther up and farther up, the square gets bigger and bigger. Okay, I'm gonna keep turning, turning. I better check this out before I go any farther. Nope. That's it. Keep turning. Oh, I see. I must have been using this on another project, because look. So that's telling me if I mark the shaft with the tool with a magic marker, then it's going to land at a pretty good diameter. Let's check and see if my assumption was accurate. Very close. Super close, in fact. So that tells me I can go a little bit more with the reaming tool past this marking that I did, I don't know how many years ago. I just pulled the kit out for this filming, so it's been quite a while. Okay, so he's getting a little tougher, a little tougher. And for those of you with arthritis, ouch, this is painful. Okay, sorry about that. probably many of you watching right now are on the edge of their seats going, oh, now I understand why Harpsmith went with the 80. See, there it goes. There it goes. See? So I'm in, and there's not much. What's really cool about the M1-4 is you don't have to cut it. I don't have to trim it. Okay? So this is going to work fine. I'm going to put this one aside for just a moment. And this is the cutting tool. But before I do that, remember the principle of you always want to go to the next size down so that you can make a pilot hole. And I haven't used this one in a while, and I'm going to put some oil into it. I can't tell you how much longer my bits are lasting now that I lubricate. Can you see the shavings coming off there? It just makes easy work of it. And again, I'm simply, the tool itself is the bit. That's the part you want to track down. It's these pin vices are available really all over the place. I'm sure Micromark sells those as well. Okay, so this is passing through very easily. Now, yeah, I can see, but I want to put a little bit more of the sriracha sauce. I'm just kidding, guys. It's mineral oil. Okay, so, and that'll just taper right in there, nice and straight. I'm not putting much effort into it. Very, very little. In fact, so little, it kind of scares me. I'm thinking, oh my God, did I use a pilot hole too large? But no, that looks good. That looks good, okay? And I can remove the residue. And again, I have a compressor. As I mentioned to you many times, I dig this because it just blows everything. And it's a very, very light, very quiet compressor, but not that quiet. I didn't want to interrupt our moment together in solitude here. Okay, let me see if I have a smaller, no, this is about as small as I have. Okay, so where is that little guy? Ah, okay. Astute techs probably noticed I didn't do the flattening step here. And you are correct. Okay. Will it work? Yeah, it'll work, but it won't be as flat. And you'll be irritated with me, actually, for not catching it. Okay, so bring out the thumper tool again. And again, I'm using the flat side of the retool. Remember the part on the last technique where I wanted to reinstall the old rivet, which was successful, but it just wasn't happening for me on the new rivet material. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. And again, I always like to put the reed facing down so it swings like a pendulum. And I'm using my finger right there, my thumb, to push it into the slot, and that keeps it straight. Okay, so I'm applying torque. Little bit more, little bit more, little bit more, little bit more. nice and flat, flat. Okay, almost flat. I got a little high on that end, which if it was a customer's harmonica plate, I would have replaced, I would have removed it and again done a little bit more thumping or even sanding. Okay, so let's take a listen here. Ooh, can you hear that? It's catching. And so I don't have the light box, but I can see, let me bring it up. You probably could see it too. It's catching right there. So with the reed wrench, I'm going to move it over just a tad. Just a tad. Ooh, it's getting better. Okay. Interesting. It must have been, yeah, it was a reed plate that I had used maybe in a prior lesson to show you how to size a reed slot. And so that makes it a little more challenging because I close the gap so much. It challenges me. Okay, a little bit more. And what I would do is pull out the light box just to make sure. So I'm going to bear down on this a little bit more because it was too easy for me to move. Now keep in mind, these metric 1.4 machine screws are extremely durable. So if you tweak it too much, what you're going to do is you're going to end up stripping the threads out of your reed plate. That's when you put everything down and grab a sandwich and a beer, because you're going to be really upset. But that's okay, because then I'll show you how to do strategy number 4. On to our fourth and last technique of this series is one that was popularized by Joe Falisco. At least that's where I first saw it, on harmonicas built by Joe. And it utilizes OT 90, 090. And specifically, they're flatheads. Remember, this one was an OT 80 round head. This one will be a flathead OT 90, so it's quite small. Joe didn't bother threading his reed plates, which I've known him for so long, I should ask him. I don't know why he didn't do that. Maybe more of a traditionalist. I don't know. But this much I do know. I'm going to have to take my 1/16 drill bit and make a clearance hole so that this OT 90 fastener is going to fit right through. Remember, so we don't want to, look how much material I'm taking off of here, and that's fine, because we want this fastener, there we go, to pass right through. Pass right through. How's that look? Yeah, let me test it. And if you don't have a tweezer, this would be a good time to go grab one when you're dealing with these little dudes. And you want the stud, you want the shaft of the fastener to actually poke up, because what we're doing is we're creating little studs that we're going to use 90 washers and nuts. Although he didn't use washers, you know how I feel about those. If you were listening, you know how I feel about washers. Okay, let's take a look at this here. Okay, so that passes through, but look how, let me turn off to the side there. Look how raised that is. That's not going to work out for us. So the easiest way, and again, this is very, very soft material, is on the opposite side. So not the reed side, but the opposite side. I'm going to grab a tool that I use for countersinking. And this material is good. This particular tool is good for metal as well as wood. I use it frequently. But I like it because I like the pitch. I like the angle. So what I'm going to be doing is just simply countersinking. But not too much, because if you do too much, you're going to increase the hole. The hole's going to be too big. Let me demonstrate. Okay, once I indexed it in there, I'm applying even downward pressure. See it cutting like that? Okay, and you just keep turning. You notice how I have my index finger on the other side of the hole. That, and I know that could be dangerous, but because this is quite sharp, but that is a stopgap. So in case I get a little bit too energetic, I don't want this thing to go through any larger than necessary. Okay, so if you're not sure, now's a good time to check. Ugh, see? What did I tell you? Frustrating to grab these things. Okay. Let's see how much it dropped down into the reed saw. You know, that's not too horrible. That's not too bad. If I would stop here normally, and that would be okay. But it wouldn't be okay on the draw plate where you need it to be absolutely flat because the surface will marry up to the comb, right? So let's pretend that's what we're doing. So let's do it a little bit more. And I'm going to put a little dab of the oil because that helps. Definitely helps. And again, I'm just spinning. Now, could you chuck this up to a little drill? And especially if you have a drill press, of course. Of course you can, because you can set the depth on it. But I'm going to bet very few of you out there actually have a drill press. But you'll be able to run down to the hardware store and get this like today. And it's not very expensive. Okay. All right, let's take a look at this now. I'll double check. It certainly looks really nice from up here. Let's take a look at this angle. See, it's getting lower. It's getting lower. I would say a couple more twists. And this is going to work out. Okay, make sure you don't get any of the burrs stuck inside your reed slot there. Not too bad, not too bad at all. Okay. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. Again, if it was the draw reed plate where this has to be absolutely flat or non-existent like these, then I would take it a little bit more. But you see, in principle, you understand how this works. For somebody that doesn't want to thread the reed plate, then we're just going to create a stud. Okay, so we're going to put that one aside for just a moment. And let's see. I'm going to tackle these reeds again. Let's see if, let me grab one. I have a whole drawer of these, by the way. So I'm just going to reach over and try to hold. This will be good scale so you can see how small it is. Look at that. Nope, see? See, I can't pass it through. Okay, can't pass it through. So this would be a good time because I don't have the other one chucked up, do I? Let's go ahead and get that reaming kit again. That worked out quite well. 1, 2, let's do this one, third from the left. Okay. There we go. Remember before I was a little curious on why I had that mark there? I bet you it was for the 90. Let's see. Okay, release. Okay, yeah, that looks pretty darn good. So I'm going to go ahead and grab our stud right here. See? And it lays right on there. Isn't that sweet? Look at that. My memory's telling me the original, for those of you who've been tracking the Harrison, the first American-made harmonica in over 100 years. Unfortunately, that failed before it could even get started. He adopted this strategy as well in the beginning because it went through a couple of different, maybe even 3 iterations on reed fastening. Okay, so that's good there. And there's a weird tool that holds. Okay, they don't call this a nut launcher. I know you're thinking that seems logical. If the other one's a screw launcher, then why don't they call this one? I don't know. I invent a lot of things, but not the name of this gizmo. Okay, so I'm going to reach in and go straight down, and it grabs. Let me get a good view. Okay, so this tool here, and it's not like it's spring loaded, it just simply fits the outer surfaces of this incredibly small nut. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the reed plate, place my finger over the head of the flat fastener so it doesn't pop out. Let's go ahead and index the reed back on because it did fall off. Okay, and then apply. Whoa. It doesn't always go on that easily. Maybe I was feeling the stress of being filmed, but there it is. That's where you want it. Okay, now we're going to get our nut launcher and see how easy it just goes right onto the stud. See that? This tool is very, very durable, so you can actually use it to tighten, but I would encourage you, because it's not expensive, I would encourage you to get miniature nut drivers. See? That fit exactly over. So this one is for the 80. Bear with me here. Sorry, let's check this one here. There we go. There we go. So I'm going to tighten. That looks terrific. See? You see the length of the screw that I order is 1/8 of an inch, double aught, 90 by 1/8. Yes, double aught. As you go smaller, they want you to add another 0. That's correct. Okay, correction there. I thought it was an aught-90, but it's a double aught 90. So that's how they want everybody to know it's small, man. It is really, really small. Okay, this is going to happen to you as well. You're gonna spill your mineral oil. Again, doesn't matter. It's not toxic. In fact, if you have constipation, you can lap up the residue and you'll feel better in the morning. All right, so let's get the. Oh, that one is absolutely perfectly indexed. Hear that? Okay, so this number 4, because this is on the blow plate. How do I know it's the blow plate? You'll always have your rivets lined up perfectly along the face where the mouthpiece goes. And another reason, I don't see any threads in these. So only the bottom, which is the draw reed plate, is threaded. Okay, so that means number 4 is an octave higher than number 1. That is absolutely fantastic. Okay. All right. Let me tidy up here a bit and then let's review. After completing the reed replacement, it is always a good idea to put the reed plate on a light box. You want to check the clearance on all the sides and the tips to make sure your new reed does not touch surfaces from the reed plate or the edges of the reed plate, because when you tighten it down and the reed plate, I can't find the words, it's not buckle, stretch, but there's movement. There is movement. And you might get that little bit of clicking and clacking after you assemble the entire harmonica, and that's going to drive you nuts. Okay, so we're looking at number 1 first. Okay, how about that? And let's see, that's looking a tad too much axis to the right. What do you think, guys? It's clearing. I didn't hear any clicking. Maybe there's clicking. A little bit, yeah. I can hear a little faint. It's not a clear ring. Okay, oh, there you heard it. Did you hear that? Okay, so what I'm going to do with my reed wrench is move it over to the left a little bit. Ah, see it? See it open up? Doesn't that look more even to you? From where I'm standing, it sure does. Let's give it a listen. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to go with that. Okay, I'm satisfied with number 1. I'm going to move over to number 2 and give up. This is the one where I repurposed the rivet. Okay, not bad. Not bad. I don't feel it rings as strongly as my fasteners do, but not bad. I think in case of a pinch, I would definitely be okay with calling this one a successful repair. Okay, that looks even. Top, left side, right side. Let's take a look at number 3. Number 3 was bothering me a little bit earlier. Ooh, I can see why. Okay. Very, very close tolerance, especially on this side, if I simulate a closed reed position. Let's take a look. See that? See how much bolder the vertical line on the left side is? See that? Okay. Whereas this one is a very tightly adjusted tolerance. Look at that. Okay. And so let's hear what it sounds like. Not bad. Kind of lackluster though. Let's see. Oh, that looks pretty good right there. Yeah, let's see, there's nothing getting in the way, and it has a very solid plink. Good. That looks good. So let's move on to the last one, number 4. And did you notice I'm lining it up to the center line of Richard Slade's box? This is a goofy one, for sure. Do you see how it looks kind of cattywampus like that? It's closer on the upper right, closer on the bottom left, yet it rings true. Kinda, sorta. So what I would do in this case here, I would actually move it over to the left just for grins and see, oh, no, see, that's too close. That's too close. So this is why you see that right there? And the ease that I'm twisting it has me think, boy, am I glad I used a 1/16 inch hole on this reed plate, because that gives me enough wiggle room. Let's see if we can't fix this without getting into another series. Okay. See how I move that one over? I push that one over. I'm applying pressure up here, replacing the tool, swapping it. Oh, okay. And I'm wiggling and jiggling until it looks center to me. Okay, let's take a look. See that? It's hitting, isn't it? Okay. So remember in the episode, I showed you the shim tool that Rick Epping taught us, okay? Is where you get a shim stock 0.001 and you chuck it up in, you know, just in an old X-Acto knife. It's like a number 11 holder. I do have a little piece of blade that I kept in there. I snapped it off to give me some stability. Let's see if I can't repair this by moving the reed over kind of like at one time here. Okay. Did you see how I did that? I inserted the blade and I moved everything over. Okay, like that. It's a little bit tight over here. So if I had more time, what I would do is actually move everything over. Ah, we do. I see we have just a couple more moments. So let me loosen it up. Again. Put my shim tool up. See it move over so easily. Okay. And then I'm actually going to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to actually leave the shim in there, the 0.001 shim, tighten it up, because I like that gap, right? Let's see. Ooh, doesn't that look beautiful? Doesn't that look great? Okay, so that's more to my liking. And again, what that did, it took a little bit of gymnastics with holding all the tools together, but I put the shim tool in there and actually pushed it over in this direction so that I can move the whole reed as a whole and not change the axis. Yeah, this is looking pretty good. So let's summarize. Well, while I have this up on the block over here, let's go ahead and summarize. I'll turn off the light here. This was a very good lesson because I wanted to prove how relatively easy it is, depending on how much effort and how much investment you want to make into your tools. You can get pretty elaborate, as you saw me do, like on this first one, or you can go, you know, kind of low cost and try to repurpose your reed rivets, like we did in number 2 over here. The current buzz out there in cyberspace is using the metric fastener known as M1-4. I just called the cellular phone screw. Okay, it was small enough. It's absolutely bulletproof. It's strong, but you do have to get the appropriate clearance bit. You have to get the tap, okay? But I'm going to probably do more of my work with this one. Richard Slay gave me enough inventory that I can experiment with it. And this one over here, where I use this technique here, the Joe Falisco technique of installing a double aught 90. Whew, I almost blew that again. and I'll turn it up on its edge so you can see, is a little dinky nut that the benefit of this I have found, if I made an error and I oversized my reed plate, this worked out pretty darn well because I have a lot of flexibility. As you saw, I'm able to maneuver left, right, up, down, quite easily with having the stud stick out and the small nut. And again, the washer that you see under there, it isn't necessary, but it certainly works better for me because of that nice downward pressure it puts on my work, and I could really torque it without having to worry about the reed turning on its axis. Oh, I'll tell you where I've been using this, and you may have seen it in prior forum articles. Spot welded harmonicas like those coming out of Asia. Suzuki, Easttop, Kongsheng. This strategy works pretty darn well for those types of instruments because you don't have any holes. It's spot riveted. So once you centered in the new reed and you mark it, things come together quite well with this strategy number 4, because you don't have to worry about trying to line up where there is none a hole to tap and thread. So don't throw away any of your harmonicas, because if you can replace just that faulty reed, you got yourself a new instrument, don't you? My name is Kinya Pollard. I am your Harpsmith, and thank you so much for spending the afternoon with me. And I look forward to having a conversation with you all on the forum, David Barrett's bluesharmonica.com. Bye for now.